It doesn't even matter if they do. Hello! Hi, everybody. It's Natalie from Creative Makers, and it's so nice to see you. Thank you for being here. No one's here yet, but that's okay. We know how this goes.
Yeah.
I am here with Marlon Marinero, and I met Marlon in a very weird way. I was having coffee next door with my husband, Dave. Hi, first person. And I was having coffee, and we were just sitting outside and enjoying the coffee, and Marlon was sitting there, and we struck up a conversation. I found out he was a ceramicist, and I've been following him ever since, and here he is to talk to us about what he does. So without further ado, this is Marlon. Hey.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. How you doing?
I guess meeting at a coffee shop isn't so strange in LA.
No, it's not so strange.
It's kind of
in LA.
a cliche.
Yeah, it's a little cliche.
But I guess
Except-
East LA, out here in the East Side, I guess that's a little different.
Different, better, or worse?
I think people here are a little more closed off.
Oh, you think so? Oh, interesting. Okay, so hello, second person. Oh, hi, Carmen. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so first and only question that I ever ask anybody
Okay.
is tell me about what it was like growing up as a creative kid. Like, what did it look like for you?
Oh, wow.
Surprise.
Creative kid. Well, that's funny because I didn't really think I was a creative kid till when I was like 18
Really?
or 17, yeah.
Wait a minute. So you didn't think you were a creative child?
No. I would do creative things. You know, I would draw and paint, typical things that you would do.
Kids
but
with marks,
and like, you know, I was into Legos as a kid and building things and painting. But like, as a kid, to me, it was just like that's something you just did. You know, I had a class and I did that. It wasn't like something that I guess I saw would separate me from other people, or I was like good at it or whatever. But yeah, not later on into life where I realized like, oh, I could take a class and really focus my creative drive into this one thing and make it mine, you know, or like show it off.
When did that happen?
After high school, I went to college. My friends were doing like
Wait a minute. So there's a lot of people that I've interviewed here that like at some point, like 7, 8, 12, 14, all of a sudden they're like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do in life. You had no idea. You were like, art wasn't on the map.
It was just something that friends were doing. I would tag along with them because that's what they did. But I never felt like I was, you know, putting my designs, my ideas out. But yeah, later on in life, after high school, I went to college. My friends were doing silk screening. They started, I guess, bootlegging punk shirts, bootlegging patches. So then I started learning how to do that, and then we needed to learn how to like use Photoshop to copy like photos and, you know, make them black and white and make a screen out of it and exposing and all this other stuff that came along with silk screening. And that's when I started learning about art. Like, oh, I could make my own t-shirt, my own design. And I would do that. Or, you know, customize. I didn't like the black and white color that we were doing. I would do like a blue shirt with a different color paint. And that was kind of like pushing me to like be more creative and be more expressive in myself.
So you were hitting your edges and
Yeah.
kind of exploring beyond them. So when you went to college, what was your major?
Like most kids, it was undeclared, and then and then I started taking a lot of more art classes. My first class that I took that was probably the most interesting one was like 3D design, and just, you know, I guess having something as an idea and then making it tangible. Because this class we had to do a ring at some point, and I remember like the wax cast that we had, you had to like mold it, cut it out, break it apart, and make it your own. And in the end you melt out the wax, you shoot silver through it, and you have this casting of the piece you just made. And I was like so proud of it. Like, it was just so cool, you know. And I was like in this jewelry, like, you know, I never really had a ring as a kid, so having a ring at like 17 or 18, I was just like, oh, this is so cool, like I made it. And that was probably one of the first times I was like, oh, like I want to make more, you know. Yeah, I mean, ceramics didn't come till way later in my life.
So you got the bug, like basically making jewelry and silk screening. How did you not like follow up on the jewelry stuff, because that's a really super tangible thing. I mean, you can make that into so many things, and people wear jewelry.
Yeah. It was interesting, but then it was also very expensive. So I started getting into painting. That's when I was hanging out with like more, I guess you could say, painters or people that did more sketches and stuff like that. I also took like a life drawing class, so a lot of my time started going towards that and painting. And then I started painting for like, after that, probably painted for like 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, just, very abstract, colorful work, a lot of line work, a lot of tedious, like, repetition.
Did you consider yourself a painter at that point? Like,
No.
this is my label now, I'm a painter?
No,
Yeah.
I never labeled myself a painter until after I probably stopped doing it. Just because I was, I don't know, I never felt like I was it. I guess maybe because in my head, I have to sell the work in order to become that.
I think a lot of people, I think guys especially too, don't, unless they're sustaining a living or making some sort of money from whatever it is that they're doing, have this idea that they can't call themselves whatever it is until they sell that piece. And then you can say, yep, I'm an artist. I've sold
Like,
a piece.
I made it.
I've done it. I'm good. So
Yeah.
that held you back from calling yourself an artist?
I think so, yeah. Feels like it. Like, I felt like I wasn't progressing, like I wasn't gaining much. But it never stopped me, I never gave up. I've always did all the art walks. I would just show up after work in downtown LA and just somehow I found this awesome community of artists that would just pop up. And it was free to pop up there and just set up. And then we became kind of a group, and we would always look out for each other and just be like, hey, are you there? Yeah, save me a spot, like next to you. That way we all just were next to each other, helping each other out, if anything. And yeah, we did that as long as we could in the art district.
And that was putting your paintings out there?
Yeah, I would show up with a few paintings, and then I would have a blank canvas, and I would just paint
While you were
live.
there?
Yeah, and then people would just ask you stuff, and I think that was probably bring a crowd too, because they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna do something like this, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they'll come back later and they'll see the progress of the painting, and they're like, oh, I did not think you were gonna start, like, that's what you were gonna do,
Right.
So it was cool. I mean, it was great while it lasted.
That's a really great thing, turning your work into some sort of like performance piece.
Yeah.
Because I think when you're working, people tend to want to gravitate towards somebody actually making something right in front of them, because a lot of times we don't see the process.
Exactly.
People don't see the process. They just see the end product and think it's impossible. But to see somebody starting with the blank canvas and then moving through, it's a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what, also like helped me keep on going, because I would always try to show people the process, how hard it is, because people think it's like,
right, they think it just pops out
it's
of you.
like that
It's just
easy
like
to
there.
do. No,
Yeah,
it's
you
not.
just do this, shoo, and it's on the page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I have to get the canvas, I have to like make the frame, and yeah, this is like a lot. It was a lot, but it was fun. I mean, I would catch myself in my car painting before an art show and just like trying to finish up the painting. Like, luckily it was acrylic, so you just dry super quick, and then you just put it on the wall.
Yeah,
and nobody knows that you literally just finished it 20
Yeah.
minutes before the art show started. And yeah, it was fun. It was always, like that, like close cut. Everything's always working at my, work table at work during my lunch break to try to finish a piece for the show. Or
What were you doing at work? I mean, what was your job at that
I did retail. So I was working in West Hollywood. And I did retail for such a long time, and I would try to even push my work into those spaces. Just be like, oh, a painting would be cool here. Like, can I commission something for you guys? And it's like, I'll make it for you.
Did they go for it?
Some did. Yeah. Some people did, and it was nice. Like even like some graphic design stuff that I would be able to do, and I was like, I could do graphic design. Minimal amounts of it, but I could like do something.
Right,
So,
you could help.
exactly. So for product launch, just
Yeah.
give me the idea. I'll try to make something. If you like it, we'll use it.
There's at least one person in that group who is very much working the same thing, working retail, and made friends with the manager, and manager liked his work, and he's now got it up in the wall on the wall at Walmart.
There you go.
Right. But
You know how many
it's
people see
awesome.
that? So many people see that.
So many people see that. So you did painting. So how did you transition?
So I wanted to get a job in the art world. So I never really finished college. So I had to go back, and one of the classes I needed to take to transfer out was ceramics. So one of my last few classes I took was just ceramics, and I just
Now, was this for BA or an AA?
For AA.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, transferred out of community college. I did it right here at East LA City College with Chris Turk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I worked with him, and he really pushed me. And I mean, now look at me, like this is what I do for a living, you know.
So you took that class, and that just unleashed it all for you?
Yeah, well, it just was different, you know. I like the chemistry behind the ceramics, how unique it is, no matter like how uncontrollable the environment is in a gas kiln or like a wood fire kiln or an electric kiln, and just the uniqueness of the piece. Like making my first pieces it was hard because I was so used to like flat, you know, like
right.
All you do is make something flat and you try to make it 3D, I guess, if that's what you're going for. But like trying to make something and it would never come out as what I wanted, which was great because it showed me like how difficult it is, and it's not easy. Not everyone could do it. But yeah, I fell in love with it. The first class had to be like a hand building class. Mm-hmm. So you learn all these different techniques: coil building, slab method, pinch pots, and you don't know anything. You don't know how glaze works. You're just like, right. Oh, it's like paint. And it's like, I'm a painter. Like I could paint this. No, it doesn't work anything like that. You know, you're not gonna mix two colors and you're gonna get,
right, a third
color. Yeah, the third color. It doesn't work like that. It's just this whole chemistry behind it, and that's what I loved. Like just figuring that out. As far as like glazing and colors, but like shapes, even like making something little and perfect. Like that's what my train of thought was. Make it perfect. But after a while, like you make so many things that you're like, I just need to make more unique things, like that are closer to like what I do. And yeah, I mean, coming from the background of like painting and then going into ceramics was.
Now, did you approach your painting with that sort of perfection thought? No, not at all.
And that's the thing. Like that's where I started to realize like I need to tie this back into like my work. And that's what it became. My paintings, again, they were very like, I used to use a line brush and just repeat the lines and they have a flow though. It's very organic. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't thought out. The lines aren't perfect. They may look perfect because there's so many of them, but it's not. It's just like repetition and flow, and a lot of my emotions come out because I'm like, either had a bad day or had a good day or whatever, but I'm still painting this thing. I put myself through this thing. And I mean, yeah, it took a lot.
And so then, I mean, there is some truth in that pottery. I mean, you could get a bunch of people to make all the same thing mm-hmm. and have it even look relatively the same between people.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe is the art of it, trying to not make it look the same.
I mean, there's two things that you could do. Like, if you could make something the same constantly,
well,
amazing.
Yeah,
great.
It is amazing. It is
but
amazing. But there's that idea around it that they're really similar.
Yeah. But also, like, maybe those people can't do what I do. They
exactly.
can't break that mold of like making the same thing over and over. Like sometimes, you want to make a unique shape and you don't know how to do it. And that took exploring for me. I had to make things and they'll fall and you get frustrated, but you're like, figure out like, okay, cool. Like I still have clay on the wheel, just cut it off, restart, figure something else out. That's when something unique comes out. And that's probably like where most of my shapes would develop, mm-hmm. like, cause I was able to expand something a certain way and then it'll collapse and then I have to cut it and I have to deal with whatever I have and just kind of figure that out. Mm-hmm. And yeah, even like certain shapes that I have, like this one.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this piece.
There you go.
Here, I got it. You can talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hold it. This is a really beautiful piece. We'll look on the inside too. It's very dark, but it's also it's actually
like
purple.
Black and, yeah.
It's sort of purpley matte black. It's hard to see, but this is a really beautiful shape.
And this shape is called the ombligo base. And
what's it called?
Ombligo.
Ombligo? Is it a Spanish term?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's a belly button.
Yeah.
So when you start a piece like this, are you working just to a cylinder at some point, and
yeah,
then you're pushing in?
Exactly. On the wheel, so what I've learned is on the wheel you need to know your fundamentals, right? You need to have that cylinder before you start doing anything else to it. So yeah, it starts off as cylinder, then I push out the edges, creating a kind of like a diamond shape, I guess you could say. Then when this gets a little firmer, like leather hard, I push my thumb through the middle, and that's how you get those indents, and just kind of figure out, you know, the separation of it, and separated by fours, and then this shape on the top comes out because of that indentation.
Because of the indentation, because
so you
it's
get
basically
another
pinching the whole pot so that you get. I don't want to ever drop this thing.
It's so alright. We got some.
No.
We really have some that fell and broke. It's
That
all
happens.
good.
I know, but I don't want to be the one. Something else can be the one, but not me. Anyway, it is really a beautiful piece. Now, what do people use your pieces for?
Decoration, for the most part, you know.
Are they like table safe? I mean, could you put stuff in them and like serve out of them if you wanted to?
Yeah, for the most part, I try to use glazes that are gonna be, I guess, food safe, you could say. But yeah, for the most part, they're food safe. I don't know if you want to eat cereal out of this, but go for it. You know.
So some people like really use their pottery also as a canvas for painting work. Do you ever do it that way? I know there's lots of people that paint.
I've tried to mimic my painting style onto the ceramics, but I just don't. It just doesn't transition well for me. I just don't see it. But I guess I just haven't gotten there yet. You know, maybe I haven't found what I need to, maybe the tools or the technique for it. But something similar. I mean, I do add a lot of lines to the work.
Yes, I see that, and they're all textural too.
Yeah, exactly. So I try to add a lot of texture to my pieces. If not texture, then I leave like a lot of the clay raw. A lot of people don't see the clay. For the most part, it's glazed. But yeah, I enjoy the roughness of the material, right? The raw material. Yeah, so this is called LB6. It's a very light tan clay, very has a lot of grog in it, so it's kind of rough. But also the glaze, the way it works with the glaze, sometimes you'll get a more muted color compared to a brighter color compared to using like a B mix, like a white clay. So I guess like, you know, in painting, you have a base and then the color pops out more depending on the background.
And depending on the medium you add to extend it or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So
in terms of your work, you know, I think there's always a psychological component that comes with working as an artist. Have you discovered what that psychological component is for you? I mean, what are you trying to express?
Great. I mean,
great. I never thought about that before.
I mean, I try to think about it. Like, I try to figure it out. Like, what is it trying to express? I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me because I guess me personally, I don't really express a lot.
Right. Well, I think that's true for people. I'm not going to say across the board because it's not, nothing's across the board. But I think people that express through art generally have a harder time, like maybe being effusive as a personality or whatever, and everything that they have or that they're containing within them comes out in their art somehow, some way.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I just haven't figured that out. Yeah, that's something that I'm trying to work with and trying to put myself in like more situations of me expressing myself. That way I could translate it into the work because I'm sure it's out there. It's out there.
There's no way that it's not, because I mean, no matter what you do, there you are. This is you, whether you want to believe it or not. However your work comes out, it's always an expression of you.
Yeah, and my teacher actually told me that. He passed away, I believe, 2 years ago, Luis Benitez, and he would tell me like, so what does the work mean to you? And I was just like, oh.
And you're like, I don't know.
There has to be more to it. Yeah,
he's
like, there's more to it. There has to be more to it. And like, you're right. There has to be more to it. I just don't know it.
Yeah.
But again, I'm working on that.
It reveals itself. I don't think you have to worry too much about that.
But I would like to know too. You know, I want to be able to talk about it as well.
Well, I'm guessing that if I pressed you, you know, we had your paintings, you know, we had your paintings, like, you know, and I had like work within the last 10 years or something, and I had it all lined up chronologically, that we would see some sort of through line, you know, without even thinking about it, and it would be obvious. But you know,
let's set it up.
I'm gonna let you do that. No, that's for you to discover.
Sounds good.
I can coach you through it. That's all.
All right. I like that.
So, tell me about how you show your work. I mean, okay, so you do other things. Obviously, you do this, but you also teach. How did you get into teaching?
Oh, great. Yeah, so teaching. I needed a job. At this time, I was hanging out with my friend Jotham. He's another ceramicist. He was teaching before me, so he was like, hey, they're looking for a teacher. Just go ahead and try it out. I'll tell him you've been teaching. We lied to him. He's like, I'll tell him you've been teaching for the past 2 years. Just use me as a reference. So I was like, okay. So I go and like take their interview. And yeah, I ended up getting the job. And my first class, you know, was how to shadow somebody and just kind of figure out the process and like how we're gonna explain everything. And then it was my turn to do the class, and I mean, I survived. I got through it. People got pots.
Now I want to know, did they call your friend to verify your credentials?
I'm sure they probably just.
He didn't tell you?
No, he didn't tell me. But I mean, I worked there for about 1.5 years. Yeah, and I ended up having classes and really getting involved in their like teaching techniques
and I bet the students adored you.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it was like, you know, I was one of them. Like, I'm not like, you know, like it was still new to me. I was probably doing ceramics for like 3 years, and it was still new to me. So, and I get it. I'm in their shoes. I've been in their shoes, so I understand. Like, it's frustrating. It's a lot, you know, especially people that are used to being good at everything. They, you know, it hits their ego, and then they're like, why am I not good at this? And they get frustrated, and I have to talk to them and explain, like, let's get through it, you know? Just, it's hard. And I still deal with that today.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it's always going to be there. But I've learned a lot, you know, not only, like, my patience, but, like, also, like, helping other people and deal with the work. And sometimes they make mistakes that I'm like, how did you even do that? Like, how did you even get to this stage? Let's just try to fix it. And I would just try to fix it. I would never be in that position because, you know, I don't know. I don't know how they get there, but it's just cool to like figure out other people's mistakes. And then because I get to learn from that.
Right, exactly.
And, you know, a lot of those I'm just like, okay, well, we got through it. Let's move on. You know, you got plenty of clay. Let's make another one. That's another thing I learned too. It's like people don't let go in ceramics. They're like, I made it, but it's not perfect. That's all right. You got more clay. Like, let's make this next one better than the first one.
I always tell people the same thing about painting. It's just a painting. It is not surgery. It's
Yeah,
not
right?
brain surgery. It's not rocket science.
That's what I tell them.
It's not any of those things. Just paint over it. It's
Yeah,
okay. Just paint over it. Play with it. Mess it up even more. Let's see what happens.
Exactly.
Let's see what happens. Because
Exactly.
it's a way to learn and to grow. Goodbye, phone call. So
Wow.
let's see what's
up,
going on. Okay, Lynn says hi. Carmen says it's pretty and very unique about
thank
talking
you.
about the
Appreciate
piece.
it.
Patty's watching. Hi, Patty. Clifton, if I want to do some sculpture over wire armatures, what materials do you recommend? Examples are plaster or some other it doesn't let me get to it. I'm going to say that it's some other non-odorous form of material.
Yeah.
Here, let's answer that question first. So what would you tell Clifton about creating a sculpture over an armature?
What is an armature?
Okay. So a lot of times when people work in clay, the clay doesn't hold up all by itself, especially if the piece is bigger, if it's heavier. So they usually put in an armature, which is like just the skeleton.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking
So
about.
wire, a lot of times it's wire, sometimes it's tin foil. It sort of just depends on what your piece is and what you're making.
So what I've used was they sell this clay with oil in it. It's a sculpting clay, and you could work on it for a long period of time compared to other clays without that oil in it. I don't know if he's gonna use it for casting or for mold making. If it's just gonna be a sculpture, then
from what I know about this person, Clifton, he has been interested in sculpture for a while, and it's been percolating in his head, but he hasn't done anything yet, or very little, if any.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to form up like the best way to do it, and maybe the least messy. You know.
Yeah, I mean the again, that sculpture you could have it and it'll dry out eventually. But I mean that's the only material I've ever used for like sculptures. It's like this. They actually, from what I heard, was made for Disney creatives to use for molding when making their caricatures out of the clay. It's super easy to use, not messy at all, and you get 50 pounds for probably like $30.
You hear that? 50 pounds for like $30. That's actually not a bad deal.
No.
And is it the kind of clay that has to be fired?
That's the thing. It doesn't have to be fired.
Oh, it doesn't?
You let it dry and just leave it. Yeah.
And it
just
doesn't
dries out.
It doesn't
eventually.
get crumbly.
No. But from what I remember, it's pretty solid. I mean,
there you go.
Or use air dry clay. That's another, easy access material you could get at like Blick maybe, and just practice on that. It really depends on what material you want to work with. Because if you're gonna do a casting, I would suggest doing that with that oil-based clay. That way you could just cast it and then take it apart easily.
What do you cast with, like rubber or something?
Rubber or what is it called? I don't know. It's more, I don't know in Spanish. It's the yeso. What is it called?
Plaster?
Plaster. There you go. Yes.
I was like, what is that word in Spanish? Plaster. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense, and then you would just cast it from there.
Yeah, and if you want to, get that in bronze or some other metal, take it to a foundry.
Yeah, and then they'll just fill it for you. So there you go. Plaster, if you wanted to work in plaster, I'm going to tell you it's not the easiest medium to work in because it's pretty wet and it's pretty loose. And so unless you have a cast, you're not going to have that much fun with it. It's just pretty slimy. And
go to YouTube Academy and you'll see all those,
YouTube Academy. And it doesn't stick, so you have to make it pretty thick. Anyway, you're probably better off with clay. Let's see what else we got here. Did he show the other pieces he has there? No, he hasn't shown us yet. So let's do that. Why don't you show us another one?
Where's another one? It's the salva vase.
Salva. What's a salva? What's a salva vase mean?
It's for water. It's like another word that I found through like.
It reminds me of
Salvadorian.
Jesus. I want to carry it and put wine in it, or turn it into water, turn it into wine. And it too is violet or black inside. It looks violet to me, but I can see how. I mean, against the green, it especially looks violet. But anyway, it's quite a beautiful piece.
Yeah, and this glaze, I just started using it. It's called Pete's Green. It's a commercial glaze. And just the beauty of it, when it breaks, it's black, and when it pools, it's that green kind of,
Here, I'm going to put it a little closer so that you can see, so that you can actually see. You can see how it goes lighter to darker all by itself, basically. You can see the darkness in like these lines right here. And then you can see how it pools here because there's some drip marks. You can see how the color sort of intensifies.
Exactly.
It's really lovely too. Very lovely. Do you ever make functional pieces, or are they mostly decorative?
Yeah, I make functional pieces. That's another big thing. A lot of people ask for.
Well, it's nice to have something in your hand that, like, I hate to use the proverbial mug as an example, but when you have the art, you're drinking your coffee every morning out of something that somebody else made. Yeah. There's something very heartfelt in that.
Of course, yeah. Yes. That in the beginning, that's all you do. When you first start, because I didn't know. Like in my head, everything was like utilitarian, right? Like this has to be used for this, and eventually it started going away from that, and. I make plenty of mugs, plenty of plates, plenty of dinner, like everything. Bowls. I make bowls every day, literally every day. as a sample for the class that I teach. But yeah, I do. I am gonna bring some back for the holidays because
I want to remind you that the holidays are here.
They're coming out. They're
You
done. They're
better
coming
move.
out.
You better move on that.
Yeah, and I'm like working with this brand called oh my god, Domestica. It's like a home goods brand, and she wanted me to make her some mugs and cups. So
How did you hook up with her? How do you get hooked up with a brand?
oh, it's just word of mouth. She knows a friend of a friend. She reached out. We had a meeting. We vibed, and she was like, "Cool, like this is what I want to make. Can you make it?" I said, "Yeah, I could make it." Made a sample. She liked it, and went through with the project.
So when you do things like that, and you don't have to give me too much information, but maybe just a little bit to help people out, because people are always trying to figure out how do you make money, from this work. Stop laughing. How do you make money from this work? I mean, and so obviously you're working with a brand. This isn't for free. You're getting paid somehow, some way. Are you getting paid per piece? Or are you getting paid when she sells it? Is it more of a consignment?
I mean, that's how it works. Yeah, it works both ways like that. I have Gary Gibson that represents me out in West Hollywood, and I show my work. He picks out what he likes. We figure out a price, and then when he sells it, I get a check in the mail.
Yeah. And so does he take a percentage of the overall
price?
Or
of course.
Does he just ask you how much you want for it and then he prices it accordingly afterwards?
Exactly.
So
that's
then
the best way.
Right. So I mean, if you say I want $100 for this piece, but he sells it for $1,000, then he gets whatever's in between, but you get your 100.
Exactly. I mean,
that's good and bad.
It is, but also he's building a clientele for me as well.
Yes.
That's something that I don't have that reach. I'm not in West Hollywood. Like pieces are, and he shows them, and people come back for more, and so now it's like that's when the relationship starts to build, and we start figuring something else out. Mm-hmm. Now I could tell him, I don't know, we'll figure something out.
Well, sure, you can start asking for more, because if more people want them, then you can ask for more.
And that's what he does.
And also people can come to you directly, and if you know that that's how they know your work, then you can, you should never undersell your representative. Mm-hmm. So, if somebody else is already selling your work in a gallery, you can't sell it for less than they're selling it for.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake.
Yeah.
So.
I know.
Yeah.
I know that.
Oh, did you do that?
No, I never did it. I would never do that. But, people talk about it, when other artists talk about that kind of stuff, like the money behind it. And because it's hard. It's hard. Especially in LA, there's so many people that do it, and so many places that are competitive. Yeah. But so far, so good.
Do you find that being an artist has made you a competitive person? No?
I'm not a competitive person, no.
No, not really? Not in anything?
I don't think so. I don't know. I grew up skateboarding, so the competition was against me, because I would have to be like, if I want to land this trick, I have to figure out how to land this trick. It's not like...
It was actually a trick question that I was asking you anyway. I just wanted to know, because I don't think art should ever be competitive. Oh. But I was just wondering, I'm always wondering about how other people feel about art. Mm. And whether they think it's a competition of some sort. But a competition within yourself, I mean, that one's hard to avoid. Yeah. Because if you're always trying to get better or do more or whatever.
Yeah. No, exactly. But no, I mean, it's sometimes I get a little jealous of how do they do this, but I'll try to figure it out, and it's nice to see work that is complicated and how do they fire this? Where do they fire it? How does it get so massive, and where do they put it?
Right.
That's very interesting to me.
Do you see your pieces moving more into an art realm rather than utilitarian?
That's where I wanted to go. So yes, I'm pushing that agenda of make it art. How do you make ceramic art? And the more artwork I've seen around, it's very I don't know how to say it, figurative, I guess you could say. Yesterday I went to this art show, and they had ceramic pieces, and this artist did a dog, very raw. And like that's the kind of art that I've been seeing a lot in ceramics, is just like these very simple things done very, I guess, like we were talking about earlier, brutal, I guess you could say. Primitive, exactly. Yeah, that's what I've been seeing lately. A lot of bright colors, and then textured glazes, and goopy glazes. I guess, I don't know, everyone's using that right now too.
I was gonna say, do you think that's actually a movement, or do you think that might just be an effect of like where they are in the process of making art? Like, we all start out sort of raw.
Yeah. No. I think it's a movement. Yeah, it's definitely a movement. Because I've been seeing it so much, and these artists are coming out of like UCLA, coming out of like big schools, and yeah, I mean, I think it's a movement. I don't think it's like, their lack of, I don't know, art ability, but it is what it is, and it's great. Like now I'm seeing more ceramics out there.
I am too. I feel like especially I see more ceramic studios available to the public, at least around
for sure,
here.
yes.
I mean, you never used to see any of this, and now all of a sudden there's probably 3 or 4 studios in my neighborhood, and my neighborhood is like a poor neighborhood, and but I'm definitely seeing a push in that direction. It's quite lovely.
It is. I mean, it's great. When I started working, I knew of maybe 5 in LA. Now there's over 10 for sure, especially like in downtown area, like where I work. There's, I believe, 5 studios around me, and then just more popping up.
Yeah,
it doesn't stop.
I think people see it as something physical to do. There's you physically do it. It needs physical muscle. It doesn't. It's different than painting. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
The
also, it's community.
The visualization's different.
Yeah, and community, and also like a lot of people like, I make the idea again. Going back to like, I made my own mug, I made my own plate, I made my own bowl. Like, that's something they make and they could use. A painting, if you paint something, you can just hang it, or not hang it. At least it's there and you could use it, and people feel they get their money's worth. Yeah. I mean, that's all. Like, for the classes, that's pretty much everybody wants to do, is make bowls and plates and cups and mugs, vases.
They don't ask you to make. They don't want to learn how to make all their own tiles for their own kitchen remodel.
Oh my God, that sounds like a nightmare.
There were some people I met in like a college class that were like, I'm here to only make tiles for my kitchen remodel. Drove the teacher crazy. All right, there's some other things here. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about that, and then Carmen says that she loved that other piece
awesome.
that you did.
Thank you, Carmen. Appreciate it.
And Clifton says, I like turned and manufactured objects. And he's saying these interviews are grounding me in a healthy way. Right, because it's fun to see what other artists are dealing with. When somebody says, it's hard, right? It's hard. Yes. Or there's a struggle there, or just, or I didn't think I was an artist, or, put whatever phrase it is that you're feeling about you in there. Every artist has that. We may not always say it out loud, or even to each other, or even to ourselves, right?
Right.
But that struggle is there. It's always there. All right, let's see what else. Oh, that was the last one. So we talked about you. So the future of your work, you think, is like in the more artistic realm. Mm-hmm. Do you see yourself working like more abstractly or more figuratively, or do you see yourself ever moving into sculpture?
Well, that's the step I'm taking now.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm taking this, sculpting class, and it's just like, it's hard. It's hard to get again, starting from the beginning, and you having the knowledge in the material doesn't mean you're gonna be able to do what you really want to do. And again, makes you humble and be like, okay, I'm just gonna work with what I have and build up. The more, because I've already learned it. So this is what I tell my students. I was like, when they're like, oh, it's you. When you do it, it's so easy. It's so that. It's like, yeah, I've been doing this for 8 years. You've been doing this for 30 minutes. You know, like you're gonna fail at it, but eventually it's gonna click, and you're just gonna be able to do whatever you want. And that's where I'm at now. I told myself that, and it's like it's not perfect. That's fine. I can always remake another one and make it better. So right now I'm transitioning to this like sculpture realm, and it's hard, and I'm enjoying it, and what I'm getting out of it, it's great. I think it's really gonna start transforming my pieces now.
I think so too.
Because I'm breaking my mold. I'm breaking that working on the wheel thing, and I'm gonna start adding more to my pieces.
Yeah, I mean, you could start with a thrown piece and then add all sorts of sculptural elements to it. As like a hand build on the side or whatever.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to think about. It's great.
That's exciting.
Textures, and yeah, it is exciting.
So, does this work sustain you? I mean, does this pay your rent? And I mean, you've got like a whole bunch of different things. You've got, the sales that you make from the pieces, the classes that you teach. Does it sustain you?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's hard. It's like any other, I guess, artist. You have to put a lot of work into it. You have to put a lot of materials and time. But it works. Right now, teaching helps me a lot. That's the most stable kind of income that I have, that I know I'm getting every 2 weeks. And then selling, you just never know who's going to buy something. Sometimes you'll get a person that spends $700, and you're like, cool, there's half my rent for whatever. Or you get a person that spends $100, and you're like, all right, well, it's something.
Yeah, they're still taking your piece home.
Exactly, and you just never know who that person is, and they'll probably tell their friend. Or even like in classes, like now I'm doing more private classes in my studio, and slowly I'm getting regulars, and that's another one that I'm like, oh, that's constant, pay. Like every Monday at 6, my friend Crystal comes and we throw. And now it's like she's good enough to be on her own, so she just kind of comes with ideas, and I help her with those to help her build her piece. And it's great. It's great to see like people come in with no experience. 6 sessions, 5 sessions later, they're able to be confident enough to just like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Okay, I'm stuck here. Now what do I do? And it's nice. I never thought I was going to be a teacher. That was never in my agenda. Like, in life, I'm going to teach people how to make ceramics. No, like it just came to me, and I enjoy it. It's nice.
What did you think you were going to be?
I don't know. I have no clue.
I'm like, was there a game plan of any sort?
I always wanted to be another skater. That's so hard. It's so hard. No. I knew I was going to work in the arts somehow. Whether it be selling paint at an art store or whatever, brushes or whatever. But I knew I always wanted to be in the art world or in design or something along that line. But yeah, teaching helped me a lot. It helped me understand people, understand myself, be patient, explain myself, be thorough. I ask my students like, oh, is it clear? Is it clear? If not, then I have to explain it to you in a different way that we can both like understand, like get it through.
Do you find over time that you've actually refined the way you do these things? That
yes.
you've figured out the best way, the clearest path to getting them to understand and do what you need them to do or what they want to do?
Yeah, but most people learn differently. Some people are visual, some people are listen to it and do it. Me, I have to try it and fail at it and then refine it, but yeah, everyone learns different. So that's another thing I learned too. Like everyone just takes information different, and you just have to figure that out and help them out whichever way you can.
I think being a teacher is so interesting in that it helps you to be more tolerant, like to other people, because once you understand that everybody really is different and we all hear things differently, that no wonder there's so much chaos and confusion in the world.
Yeah.
No, everybody expects that they're hearing them exactly as they're saying. They're hearing exactly what they want them to know, and people don't, and you have to say it a few different ways.
Definitely, yeah. And like when I'm teaching a class, I see people that are struggling, And I'll go up to them and then, take a little more extra time with them and try to explain it, or just even show them. Again, like visuals, right? I'll show them, look, this is what I'm doing. It's like show them, and then, all right, you put your hand on there. It's like, I'm not gonna do it for you. You put your hand on there, you push the clay, you feel that, that's what I'm doing. And then they're like, oh, they like, oh, I get it. Thank
Right.
you, And a lot of the time, like after class, a lot of people are like, thank you for being so patient with me. Like, I thought it was gonna be a mess, and then now I got this. It's just like nice, and I get it. I've been there. That's the thing. Like, I can relate. Like, I know it's hard. It's not easy, and I'm still there, still dealing with that.
Yeah.
Trying to learn.
Let's see. Anybody? Okay. I'm feeling like we're getting close to a final point here. Is there anything you want to share about that I haven't asked you about that you really want people to know about or talk about?
God. People know about like, I guess.
I mean, something art related. Although, if you wanted to tell them what your favorite food was, that would be okay.
Tacos, always tacos.
Always tacos.
Just, I don't know. Don't give up on what you're doing. I mean, it's hard. Sometimes you have your high points, sometimes you have your low points, and just push through it. Talk to people. Talk to other artists. Go to an art show.
Community.
Put yourself out there, because you never know who you're going to run into, and one person can really just, motivate you.
Yeah. I talk about this a lot, that, it's one thing to be on the internet and be in a community of people like these people are right now with us. But it's another thing to have them in real life.
Yeah.
Going to the shows, making yourself known, talking to people, asking them about what they do, telling them about what you do.
Yeah.
Not only asking about their stuff, but telling people about what you do, sharing what you do, and not covering it up or being embarrassed or whatever. Just sharing it. It makes a big difference.
Definitely. I don't do that. That's another thing I need to work on. That's why I'm doing this interview. I need to get myself out there and get myself out of my comfort zone and talk about my work. And again, like that question you asked earlier about
the
psychological.
Yeah,
there you go.
What are you expressing? What are you learning? What are you
That's
getting
one thing I
done?
need to get done. Like, I need to figure that out. So it's gonna help me.
Yeah, that's good.
Definitely.
Okay, well, unless anybody are there any other questions? I'm so glad you're here, Clifton. You're always here. I love you.
Thanks, Clifton, for joining us. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, then I think we're just gonna sign off.
Sounds good.
Don't forget to do your work, and keep doing it.
Yeah, just keep pushing.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, you guys. I'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.